Hello everyone. Before anything else, I want to introduce myself first. I am Rosana Sikandawan from TLE4B and I am your student teacher. For today, I will be going to discuss the Module 12, which is the physical development of infants and toddlers. So the learning outcomes of this lesson is to trace the physical development that you have gone through as infants and toddlers, identify factors that enhance or impede the physical development of infants and toddlers, present your own or others' research on the physical development of infants and toddlers, and draw implications of these principles and processes to child care, education, and parenting. So when we say physical development, it relates to changes, growth, and skill development of the body, including development of muscles and senses. So infancy and toddlerhood span the first 2 years of life, so from birth up to the first 2 years of their life. So let us first discuss the pattern of development. So as we have learned from the past or the Module 11, the cephalocaudal trend is the postnatal growth from conception to 5 months when the head grows more than the body. So this trend of growth that applies to development of the fetus also applies in the first months after birth. So it refers to growth and development that occurs from the head down. So while proximodistal trend, it occurs from the center or core of the body in an outward direction. So I have here a picture to show the difference between the two. Okay, so in height and weight, it's normal for newborn babies to drop 5 to 10% of their body weight within a couple of weeks of birth. So that is because of the baby's adjustments to neonatal feeding. So once they know how to suck or swallow and digesting, so they grow rapidly. So mas mudali sila og dako. So breastfeed babies are typically heavier than bottle-fed babies through the first 6 months. So as what I have experienced and also observed, mas dagko og mas busok or mas heavy jud ang baby nga gina-breastfeed than bottle feed. So after 6 months, breastfed babies usually weigh less than bottle feed babies. In general, an infant's length increases by about 30% in the first 5 months. So a baby's weight usually triples during the first year but slows down in the second year of life, so especially kung manglipon na ang bata. No? So their weight will slow down. So in brain development, a child's brain undergoes an amazing period of development from birth to 3. So producing more than 1 million neural connections each second. So kada second na sila makaproduce og neural connections, 1 million neural connections. So, myelination or myelinization is the process by which the axons are covered and insulated by layers of fat cells. Begins prenatally and mag-continue na siya after the birth. So, the process of myelination or myelinization increases the speed at which information travels through the nervous system. So, at birth, the newborn's brain is about 25% of its adult weight, but after the second birthday or by the second birthday of the baby, the brain is about 75% of its adult weight. So, according to Mark Rosenzweig, he conducted the study on rats in 1969, and it revealed that the brains of rats that grew up in the enriched environment developed better than the brains of the animals reared in standard or isolated conditions. So the brains of the enriched animals weighed more, had thicker layers, had more neuronal connections, and had higher levels of neurochemical activity. So such finding implies that enriching the lives of infants who live in impoverished environments can produce positive changes in their development. So it simply says that those infants who lives in a peaceful, in a kanang malinawon, hilom nga environment, so they can produce positive changes in their development. But for those babies or infants nga magpuyo sa stress or sa gubot nga environment, so mausad na ilang madak-an nga gubot ila ang pamno na gadako sila nga gubot ang ila ang environment. So next we have motor development. So motor development refers to the development of a child's bones, muscles, and ability to move around and manipulate his or her environment. So motor development can be divided into two sections, which is the gross motor skills and fine motor skills. But infants and toddlers begin from reflexes. So the newborn has some basic reflexes, which are of course automatic and serve as survival mechanisms before they have the opportunity to learn. So there are many different reflexes. So first, let us discuss sucking reflex. So it is initiated when something touches the roof of an infant's mouth. So when you touch the roof of the baby's mouth, the baby will start to suck. So infants also have the strong sucking reflex that will help them to ensure that they can latch into a bottle or the breast of their mother. So napoy uban nga tagaon og pacifier for their comfort because they have the strong sucking reflex. So next we have rooting reflex. So the rooting reflex starts when the corner of the baby's mouth or cheek is stroked or touched. So when you touch the cheek or lip of the baby, they will respond by turning his or her head and open his or her mouth to follow the root in the direction of the stroking. So this helps the baby find the breast or the bottle to start feeding. So next we have gripping reflex. So babies will grasp anything that is placed in their palm. So when you touch the palm of a baby's hand, it causes the baby to close his or her fingers in a grasp. Kabantay mo, if your finger or if you touch the baby's hand, ila jud nang i-close ilang kamot. No? In a grasp. Bisan pa og mga butang nga ilang hawidan, they will really hold it tight. So that is gripping reflex. So next we have curling reflex. So when the inner sole of a baby's foot is stroked, the infant responds by curling his or her toes. So when the outer sole of a baby's foot is stroked, the infant will respond by spreading out their toes. So when you touch the baby's foot, they will respond by curling his or her toes or spreading out their toes. So mamungkag dyan na ilang tiil if you touch their foot. Next, we have startle or moro reflex. So infants will respond to sudden sounds or movements by throwing their arms and legs out and throwing their heads back. So even just a beep of car, the baby will frightened and they will respond by splaying their arms and legs, no? And throwing their heads back. So napoy iban nga bata nga muhilak. Okay? Because of some surprising sounds. So next, we have gallant reflex. So the gallant reflex is shown when an infant's middle or lower back is stroked next to the spinal cord. So this reflex causes babies to curve their hip outward if the lower back is stroked next to the spine. So the purpose of this is to encourage movement and develop range of motion in the hip in preparation for walking or crawling. So next we have tonic neck reflex. It is demonstrated in infants who are placed on their abdomen. So kabantay man ang mga bata nga mahigda. When a baby's head is turned to one side, ang ilang kamot is mag-stretches ang isa and the other one bends up at the elbow. So this is often called a fencing position. So I have here example of tonic neck reflex. Okay, so those are the different reflexes. So next, let us proceed to gross motor skills. This is the time where the children are able to walk, to stand, run, throwing, and everything. So while gross motor skills involves bigger muscles, fine motor skills also work the smaller muscles of the hands, fingers, and wrists. So it usually involves the synchronization of hands and fingers with the eyes. So the development of these skills allows to be able to complete tasks such as writing, drawing, and buttoning. So one of the difference sa gross motor skills and fine motor skills. So now let us know some research findings regarding newborns' visual perceptions. So can newborns see? So the newborn's vision is about 10 to 30 times lower than normal adult vision. So by 6 months of age, vision becomes better, and by the first birthday, the infant's vision approximates that of an adult. So that was according to Banks and Salapatic in 1983. But sa akong na-observera, before, mabot pag 6 months para makita ang mga babies, but now, murag mga 3 months pa lang, murag makaklaro-kalaro na. No? So not unlike before nga, 6 months jud daw makakita ang mga babies. So infants look at different things for different lengths of time. So in an experiment conducted by Robert Funtz, he found out that infants prefer to look at patterns such as phasic and concentric circles rather than at color or brightness. So based on these results, it is likely that pattern perception has an innate basis. So among the first few things that babies learn to recognize is their mother's face as mother feeds and nurses them. So ang bata moilo jud na sa iyang mama because aside from it is his or her mother, maopoy gaalaga niya. So according to Robert Funtz, mas mo-prefer daw ang mga babies to look at patterns such as faces. So napoy ubang parents nga mas mo prefer pod sa mga colors or brightness. No, so na uban nga punon jud nila ila ang rooms o mga decorations. They make it colorful para malingaw ang bata maglantaw-lantaw. So can newborns hear? So the sense of hearing in an infant develops much before the birth of the baby. So when in the womb, the baby hears his or her mother's heartbeats, the grumbling of his or her stomach, the mother's voice, and music. So babies can already hear when they were in the womb. That's why kailangan jud mag-amping ang mga pregnant woman. Kay everything nga ilang ginastorya madungog na sa baby inside their womb. Their heartbeats, their voice. That's why if you are pregnant, dapat dili ka magsige kagool, dili ka magsige kilak because that will also affect the baby inside. No, kung unsa imong na feel, mo sad na feel sa bata. Kung happy ka, happy sad siya inside. No, so ana lang na siya. Kung unsay ginabati sa mama, kung unsay ginaistorya sa mama, madungog ug ma-feel na inside their womb. Next, we have, can newborns differentiate odors? According to McFarlane on his experiment conducted, young infants who were breastfed showed a clear preference for smelling their mother's breast pad when they were 6 days old. So, dili pa na nila ma-recognize ang baho sa ilang mama within the first day or second day. So it will take several days of experience to recognize their mother's breast pad odor. So next, can newborns feel pain and do they respond to touch? So yes, the baby can feel pain and they will respond to touch. So kanina we already discussed on motor development nga a newborn automatically sucks an object placed on his or her mouth. Or a touch of a cheek makes the newborn turn his or her head toward the side that was touched in apparent effort to find something to suck. So babies do respond to touch. So next we have, can newborns distinguish the different tastes? So in a study conducted by Rosentin and Oster, that babies who only 2 hours old, they can distinguish the different tastes. No, so they will respond through facial expressions when they taste sweet, sour, and bitter solutions. So ma-respond na sila through facial expressions. Next, we have, do infants relate information through several senses? In short, are infants capable of intermodal perception? So when we say intermodal perception, is the ability to relate, connect, and integrate information about 2 or more sensory modalities such as vision and hearing. So in a study conducted by Spelk and Osley, they found out that sulod daw sa 3 ug 2 ka bulan, ang mga puya, mangita na sila sa iyang mama when they heard the voice of their mother, and longer to their father kung makadungog sila sa tingog sa ilang papa. So that was according to Spelk and Osley. So next, let us discuss the summary of what infants and toddlers can do physically. So we have here the 3 domain: physical health, well-being, and motor development. So in physical health, the child demonstrates adequate growth, which is the weight, the height, and head's circumference. The child has adequate sensory systems to participate in daily activities. From 0 to 6 months, the baby startles to loud sounds, as what we have discussed earlier. So visually it follows a moving object from side to side, up and down. Then they can react to pain by crying, withdraws or cries when in contact with something hot, and withdraws or reacts with surprise when in contact with something cold. So reacts with pleasure or smiles or relaxed expression when he or she tastes something delicious. Reacts by making a face, frowns, grimaces when he or she tastes something he or she does not like. So from 7 to 12 months, the child will be able to react with pleasure when he or she smells something nice, and reacts by making a face when he or she smells something foul. So in standards 3, the child has adequate stamina to participate in daily activities. So they can push or pulls moderately heavy objects. So makatulad na silang mga bangko or mga boxes. Walks without tiring easily. So 13 to 18 months, in this age, dili na magsugod og dula-dula ang mga babies. From 19 to 24 months, sustains physical activity like dancing, outdoor games, or swimming for at least 3 to 5 minutes. So next, we have motor skills development, the gross motor skills. So the child shows control and coordination of body movements involving large muscle groups. So from 0 to 6 months, they can hold head steadily. So dali na mag-start og kamang-kamang, lingkod, ana-ana. So next, from 7 to 12 months, they can sit alone steadily without support. Creeps or crawls with ease as a primary means of moving around. Stands without support. Stands from a sitting position without any help. Squats from a standing position with ease. Stands from a standing position with ease. Bends over easily without falling. Stands from a bent position without falling. Walks sideways by holding onto the sides of crib or furniture, and walks with one hand held. So mananing mga idara nga makatindog na sila ilaa, makalingkod na sila ilaa without any assistance and support. So from 13 to 18 months, they can walk without support, walks backwards, makalaka-laka na sila without guidance. Walks up the stairs with hand held, 2 feet on each other, 2 feet on each step, and jumps in place, climbs into a steady elevated surface like bed or sa bangko, magsakasaka na. Then kicks a ball but with little control of direction. Throws a ball but with a little control of direction and speed. So, kadagan-dagan na din sila nga dili na mga dagma. Maintains balance, so makabalance na without assistance. So kung makadungog any music, they will dance or moves. Next, can move body to imitate familiar animals and move body to imitate another person or TV character. So manis lang mga idara from 13 to 18 months. Next, we have 19 to 24 months. They can walk up the stairs with alternating feet without help, without some assistance. Kicks a ball with control of direction and throws a ball with control of direction and speed. So next, we have motor skills development, which is the fine motor skills. So the child can control and coordinate hand and finger movements. So from 0 to 6 months, the baby should already know how to open their hands most of the time. They can bring both hands together towards dangling object or toy, uses either hand interchangeably to grasp objects, and uses all 5 fingers in a ranking motion to get food or toys placed on a flat surface, and grasps objects with the same hand most of the time. So from 7 to 12 months, they can pull toys by string, bangs 2 large blocks together. They can pick up objects with thumb and index fingers. They can grasp and transfer objects from hand to hand and grasp objects with the same hand all the time. So, muna na silang mga pang-idara from 7 to 12 months. Then, 13 to 18 months, balo na sila mo sulod o mukuha sa butanganan. Next, unscrews, leads, unwraps candy or food. Balo na sila mohawid og lapis or crayon and scribbles spontaneously. So, from 19 to 24 months, so they know how to colors na. So, next we have personal care and hygiene. So, the child participates in basic personal care routines. So, from 0 to 6 months, that is the time that they will suck and swallow milk from breast and bottle. They begin to take complementary or semi-solid foods by the end of 6 months. So, pa ni mga panahon na nga mga lihok kaya ang mga bata ilisan o ligoon. From 7 to 12 months, so at that time, kabalo na sila muhawid sa ilaang bottle for their feeding. Helps hold cup for drinking. Chews solid foods well. Feeds self with finger foods and scoops with a spoon with spillage. So from 13 to 18 months, kabalo na sila muhungit sa ilaang kaugalingon but with assistant. Kabalo na sad sila magkinamot mukaon. Then feeds self using spoon with spillage. No longer drinks from feeding bottle. Drinks from cup unassisted. Participates when being dressed by lifting arms or raising legs. So, dapat kabalo na silang kung ilisan, kabalo na silang mo raise sa ilang hands o legs. So, pulls down gartered shorts or pants, underpants, or panties. Removes shoes or sandals, informs caregiver of the need to move his bowels so he can be brought to comfort room. So, kabalo na mubo og sandal or shoes. So, takes a bath with assistance. Kabalo na muligo, but with assistance, of course. Then, brushes teeth after meals with assistance from adult. Washes and dries hands under adult supervision and washes and dries face with the assistance of an adult. Next, we have 19 to 24 months. So, they can get drink for self unassisted. So, kabalo na sila mukuha og tubig without the assistance. Then, removes loose sando. Kabalo na sila mo tanggal sa ilang mga sandos. Removes sacks, informs caregiver of the need to urinate so he can be brought to the comfort room. goes to the designated place to urinate but sometimes wets his or her pants. So goes to the designated place to move his or her bowels but sometimes still soils in his or her pants. So goes to the designated place to move his or her bowels but they need help for wiping and washing, of course. So next we have brushes teeth after meals with adult supervision and washes and dries face under adult supervision. So that's it. Those are the summaries of what infants and toddlers can do physically. So if you have babies nga up until 1 year, dili pa kabalo mo lingkod, dili pa kabalo mo tindog, dapat you have to practice them for them to learn also. I think that's all for today. So that's the module 12 all about. So I hope you have learned something from the discussion. So thank you for watching everyone and God bless.